guys. We'd like to welcome on Mark Fulcher, otherwise known as Fooch, on tour. Currently the caddy for Billy Horschel, 13th in the world rankings. Before that, Molinari, as well as Justin Rose, who's with him for 11 years. Was it Fooch?
Yeah, just over, but 11 will do sufficiently,
Okay.
I think, yeah.
Got a 2016 gold medal with him, 3 Ryder Cup victories, and 10 PGA. Was it 10 PGA Tour wins with him, or more or
Yeah, it
less
was
than that?
10, yeah.
Okay,
Obviously, the US
including
Open.
2013 U.S. Open. So
It's awesome.
one of the best in the game in the caddy
Thank
department.
you.
So
One of the
excited to have
luckiest, I
you
think.
on.
Yes. Before we get started, Mike, I just wanted to say, like, what's a day of the life look like for Mark Fulcher? Maybe like outside of golf.
Oh, I mean, obviously, for example, last week we were in the match play at Austin,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a busy week.
Yeah.
Potentially you can play 7 rounds. Unfortunately, we only played 4, but it's a tiring week. So when I come home, I just hang out with the dogs and the wife, and this particular week is interesting because you do start feeling yourself preparing for Augusta. I'll get my old
Yeah.
yardage books out, and I'll start getting a sense of going back there again. Even though you've been there a few times, it's always nice to realign yourself with what's going to come up. It's a special place.
Yeah.
Is there like always kind of this sense of anxiety heading into that tournament just because it's so big?
Yes, definitely. I mean, from everybody concerned, obviously we've had the players recently, we have the big, certain big events, but without question, the Masters is the one. Certainly at the beginning of the season, obviously the majors are significant, but I think generally, because it's the first and because it's the Masters and it's at the same place all the time, there's always that slight bigger build up. And yes, I think anxiety is a perfect word. I think everybody involved in it is slightly anxious. Everybody's pretty keen to get going and see what the course is like and any changes they've made. I think they've made one significant change this year at number 15, lengthen the par 5. So it's always interesting to go back there and see the little tweaks that they've done.
So do they do that every year where they have, there's some sort of change, whether it be significant
Yeah,
or just even slight?
yes, absolutely. And sometimes we'll spot them and sometimes other people will spot them, but they're always, it's an evolution, Augusta. And I think eventually you'll see the tee go back at 13 as well. And, they're always evolving on how to make the course, a good challenge for the current players and the current technology. And it's a pretty cool spot.
For sure. For sure.
So we'll get rolling into some of our questions here. So I wanted to start. What's been your best and your worst moment as a caddy on tour? So like your best, obviously winning certain tournaments, or even just giving the right club on a certain shot and seeing your player execute it. And
Well,
then,
I mean, it's
on the worst side of it too is kind of the same concept of, maybe losing a tournament on a close one, or,
well, that is certainly one of the worst ones. I'll come to the best one, which was without question the entire Olympic experience was remarkable.
Yeah.
To go down to Rio as part of the team, and we were embraced completely as part of Team GB. And then obviously, to go to the village, walk out in the opening ceremony for a slightly chubby 55-year-old, it was pretty cool. And to be able to do that, and of course, at the end of the week with Justin winning gold, it was simply the most memorable week of my career by far. Most disappointing is, ironically, probably the Masters. I think it was 2017, maybe. We were head to head with Sergio, and had a 2-shot lead on the middle of the 13th fairway, and Sergio was in the trees on the left. And the very first time, I actually said to myself, and God knows you should never do this as a caddy, but I said, "Oh my God, we're going to win this."
Yeah.
oh,
And then of course, fatal. And then of course things changed around, and we lost in a playoff, and that was a bitter defeat. But you know what? If you go through life enough things doing the same thing, you're going to have great moments. You're going to have bad moments. It's just the way it works. And
Right.
I wouldn't have swapped my great moment for anything else. So I've been very, very fortunate.
yeah. So, you talk about being so fortunate. what do you think has made you such a successful caddy on tour? What do you do differently?
Well, I think when you get to, especially my age, experience is crucial. You know, it's like anything in life. You can't really learn experience, can you? You know, life experience. And I've been doing it caddying over 35 years now. So I've been in that position of, you know, tournaments and pressure situation, and you learn it as you go along. And I think as a young golfer, I was a particularly bad-tempered character, and I think I use that in the reverse now, that I'm able to understand a little bit just what that game does to you. Not that I was particularly that good, but it certainly annoyed me enough that, you know, I'd throw clubs and my behavior was, you know, awful. But it made me realize that what some of the guys and the girls I've worked for are going through. And I think that understanding helps for you to emotionally deal with some of those situations they get in. So I think that certainly helped me.
Yeah, for sure. Fooch, you already kind of alluded to this, but the Masters is coming up. Do you and Billy prepare for this tournament differently than any other tournament, or is it kind of the same preparation?
Well, obviously, the huge advantage we have for the Masters as opposed to the other majors, the other majors are played on different golf courses. So the preparation there is probably a little bit more intense as far as you have to go and learn the course. For example, the PGA Championships at Southern Hills in Tulsa, and we will go there for a couple of days prior to the week to try and learn the course, to you understand it a little bit better without having to deal with it during the the week itself. But the Masters obviously have that huge advantage that you've been there so many times, and it's only the little tweaks you have to look out for. But generally the game plan is set. You know, the pins are generally set. You know what you're expected. It's just then adjusting to the conditions of the week, whether it's soft, firm, the weather, etc. So to some extent, Augusta's slightly easier as far as the preparation is concerned.
Okay.
So that kind of moves me into my next one. So you caddied Augusta a couple times. I mean, plenty of times already. What's the game plan going in, and then like what's going to be the key to success, you think, not just for Billy but for the field as a whole?
Well, I mean, there is really only one way to play the course. You have to play each pin position as it gives you. So, for example, hole number one, the traditional back right pin is on the first day. They generally put it on the back right, and you know that you can't go long. You generally want to try, and over the years you've found what we call the straight, the fall line, and you want to get as many putts as you can to land on a fall line, because that will make the putts easier. Obviously, the bigger the break, the bigger the slope, the harder the putt. So I think that's what Tiger did so well, is he was able to negotiate his way around, particularly Augusta, by finding the fall line and making his putts that much easier. Because at the end of the day, Augusta is notoriously difficult to putt on. So the simpler you can keep that, the better, I think. So that's your strategy, is all down to a daily routine as far as where the pin is, where the wind is coming from, and the firmness of the greens. So it is really, the strategy is really done, the evening or the day before, or the morning of, when the pins come out.
Gotcha.
Sweet. This is kind of a more specific question. What are the conversations like with Billy before he hits every shot? Is there ever a time where it's quick, like, okay, you know what to do? Or, is there a time when it's really long conversation? You know what I mean?
Well, we have a routine where that it's really specific. We find out where we want to land the ball in relation to the flag. So that's talking about the firmness of the greens. And then we'll find out exactly how far that's playing in our mind. We'll make a committed decision. And we find that when we don't actually have a precise number for him to hit, we often don't hit as good. He doesn't execute as good a shot. So you've got to be completely, and with Justin, it was a very similar situation, whereas he always used to say to me, Rosie, put the right information into the computer, and the golf swing will produce the right shot. But if the information's wrong, chances are that's it's going to come out badly. So I think as long as you're disciplined, and before Billy or any other player hits his shot, he is 100%. It's everybody says it, but he's 100% committed to a specific number.
Yeah.
And if he hits that, if he doesn't, then that's acceptable. Then the acceptance can be there. But if you make if you're shoddy in your preparation as pre-shot, then I think you're going to get what you deserve, probably a poor shot.
Right. Cool. So yes, the Masters. How do you feel about Phil not participating this year? I mean, that's kind of a rare thing.
Yes, I think he's done the last 28, I'm guessing, but
Yeah.
obviously the situation with the Saudi League and has put him in a position where I don't think, it's untenable where he can turn up at the moment, which is, whether you agree or disagree, I have my own opinions on it, but I think Phil, made some mistakes but I think he's taken the brunt of it, which I don't think necessarily is fair, but we will see how that Saudi stuff develops. But there's no question that Phil not being there, he'll be missed, because he's an integral part of the Masters, a 3-time winner. But of course, the buzz is at the moment the Tiger might be turning up. So I think if that happens, then the Phil situation will disappear pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
So, Fooch, you made some comments on Twitter regarding players complaining about the course conditions, and I just wanted to know kind of, what was the basis behind those comments, and why do you think players are often so quick to comment on the track?
Well, I think obviously when it's difficult, it's players are frustrated, but you'll get players at some tournament, for example, the American Express, or the Kapalua events, where 35 under, 25 under wind, and it's just the way it is. It's just those courses are set up like that. Kapalua, particularly, if there's no wind, they're going to shoot 33, 34 under. But what's slightly frustrating is that when, on one hand, some players are saying it's too easy, the setup's too easy, and then it gets like API, Arnold Palmer, where it was incredibly difficult. But you've got to understand that's the nature of the game. 1 week, I think that's what's exciting about the game of golf, is that 1 week it can be 35 under, and the other week it can be 2 or 3 over. And I think to moan about it from both ends is it's just not cool, in my opinion.
I agree.
It's what golf is difficult, and
totally
sometimes these guys are so incredibly good, but it's just I think it's more frustration that they've had a couple of hard days, and Bay Hill was incredibly tough this year, and certainly the second round at the Players, when the guys had to go out in that wind, was almost farcical, because of the conditions were so difficult. But that's golf. It's not an indoor sport, and I think that's what keeps it apart from most other sports. For example, tennis, or I guess they get a bit of wind, but generally, it's good conditions. So
yeah, I mean, I feel like it's nice. It's good to see. Every golf fan wants to see those courses, especially Bay Hill, where it's it's not a major, but it's a big tournament, the Arnold Palmer Invitational. I mean, the Players is a big one, and then obviously the 4 majors. Everybody wants to see those be really difficult and really see the best player come out on top. But in those other weeks, like, I feel like golf fans don't mind seeing really, really good scores, because it just makes it a little more fun to see. You get to see really what those guys are capable of.
Yeah, and I think the combination of all of those things are great, and that's what makes golf so interesting week in, week out. The conditions are different, the grass is different, everything's different, and that's what keeps coming back. People coming back, and people who play the game understand that one day it can be perfect, and the next day you can have a 30-mile-an-hour wind, and I just find it frustrating that some of the very top players in the world just seem to want it to be just like they want it every time, and it's not possible. And I would rather see people embrace the fact that it's difficult than perhaps moan about it.
1000%.
But it's easy for me to say that, because I'm not having to hit the shot. I mean, I'd have probably taken 150 at Arnold Palmer, and I'm sure I wouldn't have enjoyed 1 second of it.
Yeah, that would have been me too, for sure. I think I saw you comment on the fact that like Rangefinders used on the PGA Tour. Like, what are your full thoughts on that?
Well, I presume we're going to be allowed to use them again at the PGA Championship, because that was the first event and the only event. I think it would add time to the
Yeah.
the whole procedure. Fair enough if you're. I mean, for Phil, it's ideal if you're 50 yards off the fairway. Then Phil had a tendency to miss the occasional fairway by a wide margin. It was useful for him, but as a golfer and a caddy, I think you'll shoot the flag, but you'll still need to get the book out to understand what it is to the front, what the carry is over a bunker. Whether you're landing on a downslope, downgrade, into the grain, or whatever. I really don't think it will speed up the game of professional golf. Whereas I think in amateur golf, it is relevant anyway. I think it's a great idea.
1,000%.
That's how I see it.
I got one in my bag.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
I still can't hit a green. So
well, me neither. So that's okay. And I get a new Bushnell every year, and it makes no difference to my game. Yeah. So we keep coming back, boys.
Yeah, exactly. So we actually moved through the questions we had written down a little bit quicker. So I do have some other ones. What got you started as a caddy? Like how'd you get your start, and how'd you move up through the ranks?
Basically, when I was a kid, 16, 17-year-old, I was a pretty good player. I played in an event which is the British Boys Championship, and there was I think 140 guys in the field, and I managed to finish exactly 140th, and absolutely useless. So I knew that there was no future for me in the game of golf to be making money, but I also figured that a way to travel Europe I love golf, was to stand next to a guy that could play. And in those days, there was zero money on it, but you could travel the circuit and turn up in a car park and get a bag and basically, travel free around Europe. And then it sort of continued, and I thought I'd do it until I was in my early 20s and get a job. And I thought I'd do it till I'm 30 and 40 and 50, and then here we still are. So it's just a general word of mouth thing, progression. And as I said, I've been very fortunate to both work on the ladies and the men's tours and do quite well.
Yeah.
So it's been very good to me.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead. You said we'll keep it brief, and I think this has been an absolute pleasure, an awesome interview.
1,000%.
We do have one last question. So
okay,
this is my favorite.
You've caddied for an absolute legend in Justin Rose, and obviously Billy Horschel's making his own path for that too. If you could caddy for any player, active, inactive, dead, alive, who are you on the bag for?
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a great question. Do you know what? When I was a kid, I always loved Tom Watson. I always loved the fact that, especially the Open Championship, I mean, the guy won it 5 times, and he never got his umbrella out. He just put his hands in his pocket and got soaking. And I always thought that would have been the coolest guy to work for Tom in an Open Championship.
It's a great answer.
I think just in that event solely, because it would have been lovely to work on a really miserable day at St Andrews with the rain coming sideways and everybody struggling with the umbrella, and just walking behind the fella with his hands in his pocket going with his flat cap on and shoot 68. And I mean, that would have been that'd been pretty cool. But today, I mean, there's so many incredible golfers, and not necessarily wanting to caddy for them, but just to watch them. I mean, the standout for me, I mean, obviously I'm biased towards Rosie, but the standout is Rory. It's just when Rory's in full flow.
Yeah.
Just the most remarkable golfer to watch. I had the pleasure of caddying for Frankie last year, actually in the API, and we played with Rory on the first day, and he shot the most smoothest 64 you've ever seen. It was beautiful to watch, and obviously, he goes up and down, but without question, the most exciting player to watch. It's certainly from inside the ropes as a caddy's perspective, incredible.
For me, it's his
That's awesome.
confidence. It's like his walk. Have you ever seen like Roy's walk? How he almost kind of bobs his head.
Well, he bounces, doesn't he?
That's what gives it for me.
Yeah, I mean, he bounces along. I mean, it's like he's got some springs in his shoes. I mean, those Nike must be genuinely Nike Air shoes for him to bounce like that. But when he's got that walk going, you're in trouble. I know that much.
1,000%.
Yeah.
All right.
Fooch, so guys, quick question for you guys. Just what are your picks for the Masters?
I got Billy all day.
Oh, come
Thanks,
on.
man.
I got
No.
Billy.
I love it though.
Okay.
I love. Oh
Nah, I
man,
mean-
this is such tough. I haven't.
You got
I
three
haven't dove
picks
into
each.
it.
Scheffler's rolling like no
Yeah.
other right now.
Scheffler's a different animal right now. Billy's been a different animal too.
Mhm.
And then I'm gonna take my third one's gonna be if it happens, which I think it's been confirmed that it's not gonna happen. But if Tiger plays in it, I got him winning it.
Oh,
I love
jeez.
you.
Yeah.
That's bold.
That
That's
is
bold.
bold.
Okay, well, I'm going to stick with my old boss, Justin. If Billy can't win it, I'm going to go with Rosie to make a comeback and win his first Masters.
Oh god,
There
that'd
you
be
go.
awesome. That would be awesome.
So
Root
before we
for
let you
Justin.
go, and we'll let you go, I got one more question. You got any advice for Carson so he can shave a couple strokes off today?
Yeah, dude. I've been struggling.
Really?
I need Fooch on my bag.
Well, I'll have a go at that, but short game. That's what it's all about.
It's fair.
There you go. So
Chipping,
it sounds like
chipping,
Carson's
and
got to get
chipping.
out of here and get over
Yeah.
to the
Well,
putting green real quick.
I think he's got to get to the chipping green. I'm
Yeah.
just taking a stab that he could probably save at least a shot and a half a round by just getting a standard chip shot up and down every time.
Probably more than that. You'd be
I can let you
surprised.
know from experience that you're dead on. He does
Yeah.
need to work on
Okay,
that chip
thank
shot.
you. Well, any improvement, let me know.
All right, we'll do.
All right,
we'll
guys.
do.
Well,
It
it's been
has been an
fantastic
absolute
talking to
pleasure,
you.
Fooch.
Yes.
Hopefully Billy wins. Maybe we can get you and Billy on here.
Absolutely. Well, if Billy wins, I promise I'll get him on with you. How about that? Wearing the
This is
green
awesome.
jacket.
Well, now my pick's Billy. So,
Let's go.
Okay.
all right.
All right,
Good to
boys.
see you,
Best of
Fooch.
luck.
Thanks for coming on.
See you guys. Thank you.
Later.
Yep. Have a good
Bye
one.
bye.